Friends, now we move to the most rapid section in the topic of penalties and prosecutions. Here, more than my explanation, what matters is the ability of me to read fastly all the sections and the nature of the default and the penalty leviable. Right. That is, you might have heard about ABC analysis in the material cost control. ABC analysis के जैसे already we have completed the most important thing, that is your 271(1)(c), concealment of the income is a category. B category is 273A, that is a waiver of the penalty. Then C category item is what? C category item is what are all the penalties under the law, that is what are all the defaults that an SSE may make and what is the consequential penalty that the department can levy for all such defaults. First, 140A3. What is 140A? It deals with self-assessment tax and all. If there is a failure on the part of the SSE either to wholly or partly make the payment of self-assessment tax, interest or both, then the assessing officer can impose the penalty. Of course, it should not exceed the tax or the interest which is in arrears. So please do remember and ask your clients to properly pay the self-assessment tax, failing of which a penalty can be levied to the tune of tax and the interest that is due. Then friends, 221(1), default in making payment of tax or interest on any demand. Demand notice is issued to you asking you to pay the tax and you fail to pay the tax, then also the penalty can be levied. Of course, it should not exceed the tax or the interest which is being demanded for. Then 271(1)(b), failure to comply with the notice under section 142(1) or 143(2) or failure to comply with the direction under section 142(2)(a). That is, a notice is issued, inquiry before the assessment 142(1), and 143(2) notice is what, friends? For taking up the case for regular assessment, a notice will be issued under section 143(2), and in case if they want, they can order for special tax audit, and for these notices, if you are not responding properly, a penalty to the tune of 10,000 rupees can be well levied. Then under 271(1)(c), already we have studied the point, that is for concealment of the income, penalty can be levied to the tune of 100% of the tax ought to be evaded, which may be extended to 300% of the tax ought to be evaded. And failure to maintain the books of accounts as given in section 44AA, a penalty to the tune of rupees 25,000 can be well levied is a point. They should not give rise to a point that please don't advise your client that if the accountant you have to pay about 2 lakhs per year, better you don't maintain your books of accounts and pay the penalty of 25,000 rupees. That should not be the advice, because consequential effects of not maintaining the books of accounts would be your case can be taken up for best judgment assessment is a point. Then friends, failure to keep and maintain any information relating to your international transactions and all, then 2% of the value of the international transaction could be levied, because as you study the transfer pricing and international transactions and all, there under the income tax law you need to maintain some information and all. If you don't maintain that information, penalty to the tune of 2% of the value of the each transaction could be well levied. Then undisclosed income of the previous year in which search has been initiated, or the previous year whose due date for filing the return of income has not been expired, In the last session, I explained the point that search is taking place and there is a previous year which got concluded, but for which the due date for filing the return is not yet over. That is, for example, for 2009 and 10 financial year, assessment year is 10 and 11 and the due date for filing the return is 30th September, but 30th September of 2010. So your search got initiated say in the month of the June 2010, then in that case, in respect of undisclosed income relating to that particular financial year of 2009 and 10, penalty can be only levied to the tune of 10% of the undisclosed income. This is very, very important from the examination point of view. 271 AAA, which we have elaborately discussed. Then failure to get the accounts audited under section 44A भी tax audit नहीं करा दिए तो तब penalty could go up to 1 lakh or 0.5% of the total sales at the turnover. Then you need to get a report in case if you have got international transactions and all, audit report under section 92E. If you don't get it done, then 1 lakh rupees of the penalty can be well levied. In case if there is a failure to deduct the tax at a source and remit the same, then amount equal to the tax not deducted or having deducted not paid could be well levied. So that is the seriousness with the TDS friends. Please advise the clients that दोनों भी गलत है, एक साथ TDS नहीं डिडक्ट करना भी गलत है, having deducted not paid भी गलत है. In that situation, you require to pay the penalty of what the tax you have deducted or failed to deduct is a point. Then that is all given in 271C. Now 271CA says what? Failure to collect the whole or any part of the tax required to be collected under the provisions of section 206C, that is a tax collected at source and all, that is amount of tax which such a person failed to collect, to that extent the penalty can be well levied. 271D, of course this is definitely important from the examination point of view, that is if you make a contraventions of the provisions of section 269 SS and accepts the loans and deposits in cash and all, then an amount equivalent to the loan or deposit that is taken or accepted, to that extent penalty can be levied. And 269T, repaying the loan, not only loan and deposit should be taken in a check, even the repayment also should happen in check. If it is happening in cash, then a penalty of the amount equivalent to the loan or the deposit repaid will be, what is it, levied. So 271D and 271E you should remember from the examination point of view. 271F discuss about what if you don't file your return within the due date specified under section 139(1) or before the completion of the relevant assessment year, then a penalty to the tune of 5,000 rupees can be well levied. 271FA discusses about annual information return need to be filed, and a failure to file the same will attract a penalty to the tune of 100 rupees per day for every day during which the failure continues. Similarly, failure to furnish the documents as required under section 92D, 2% of the value of such international transaction in respect of which documents required to be maintained and to be shown to the department, then 2% of the value of the transaction can be levied as a penalty. Then for any questions which they are making, once they make a general survey and all, if they come for survey and put you some question, and if you don't answer them properly, and if you refuse to sign the statements which they are asking you to sign and refuse to produce the books of accounts to them, then 10,000 for the each failure. Then 272A2, of course a very big this thing covering so many Defaults, that is failure to give a notice of discontinuation of the business. If you discontinue your business, you are supposed to give the notice. Failure to furnish in due date any return statements or particulars as given under section 133 or 206 or 206C or 285B. Then failure to allow to inspect the books and records under section 139(4), and failure to furnish the return by the the charitable institutions, and then failure to deliver in due time a copy of declaration under 197A, and these are all related to the TDS provisions and all. Failure to deduct the and pay the tax, and failure to comply with a notice issued under 94(6). A very big list is there. For all those defaults, a penalty to the tune of 100 rupees for every day during which such failure continues is a point, friends. Failure to comply with section 133B, penalty not exceeding 1000 rupees will be levied. Of course, as a students, you should never get bothered by looking at these many penalties, because in the examination we are not troubling you by asking all these things, but the knowledge of this is very much relevant. There are only few repeatedly tested areas, and by the recent finance acts of 2010, 9, 8, whatever being inserted into this particular chapter, that you please be careful with those sections. So this topic, when you are reading, what is most important? 271, 1C, 273A, and then what is it? The time limit for imposing the penalty, that is most important thing. So I leave the few more things which are there given for your reading. There is not much to explain therein. And here, try to understand, friends, there is a section called as 273B, and this section says what? That is, whenever a penalty is going to be levied, then in case if the SSC is given an opportunity of being heard, and in case if the SSC proves with all reasonable reasons what made him to make such a failure, then if he is able to justify and if he proves that there is a reasonable cause for such a said failure, what is stated, penalty can be well waived off is a point. So no penalty shall be imposed on person showing a reasonable cause for his failure to comply with a particular act which has attracted this particular penalty. So although when we read the penalty provision, we feel so, panic, but notwithstanding all that, most important thing that you should remember is under 273B, it is clearly stated that no penalty can be levied in case if the SSC can prove with the point that sufficient reason is there, reasonable cause is there for his failure is a point. But please do remember, I really concealed the income and intentionally done it, and later on no cause can help me out to avoid the penalty. But since it's a very big law and there are so many compliances which the SSC has to do, non-compliance for a reasonable cause is always an excusable thing, is what 273B says. Write down 273B. No penalty shall be imposable. No penalty shall be imposable on the person or the SSC if he proves that there was a reasonable cause, for the said failure. Reasonable cause for the said failure. Because in the examination, sometimes they may ask, as a consultant, please tell, that is, what is the recourse that the SSE has got. If a question like that comes, if nothing comes to your mind, at least this should come to your mind. When you sit in the exam, if a question comes, this is a penalty, what can be done by the SSE? Then if nothing comes to your mind, at least this point should come to your mind, that there is a beautiful section called as 273B, which says that in case if the SSE can show a reasonable cause for his failure, then no penalty can be levied bolke likho, right? But I don't advise you that you don't remember remaining things, but this is a last recourse that you can have in presenting that particular answer. Now I move fastly to the offences and prosecution, friends. See, so far we have done with what? Penalties. For defaults, penalty can be levied. Sometimes imprisonment also is going to be waiting for you. So what are the acts if you commit? What is the minimum imprisonment? What is a maximum rigorous imprisonment? Enjoy the listening. 275A says what? Dealing with the seized assets in contravention of the order made under section 132(3). They come for a search and seized and said, till such time we complete the assessment, block assessment, you can't make use of these particular assets. Then in contravention of what they have said, the SSE started using those assets and disposing of those assets. Then in that case, the imprisonment minimum is 2 years along with the fine, or a maximum rigorous imprisonment of 2 years along with the fine. Similarly, if when they come and ask for the information under 132(1), and if you don't show them the accounts and all, that could attract an imprisonment to the tune of 2 years along with the fine. Then friends, removal, concealment or transfer or delivery of the property to thwart the tax recovery. So see, when there is a failure on your part to pay the tax, then they will come and seize the assets. Because they come and seize the assets बोल के आप वो assets को दूसरे को घर में भिजा के नहीं तो कहीं भी लॉक करके रख दिए तो in case if that is known to them, then they can impose a imprisonment for you for 2 years is the point. Of course, in all these things, maximum imprisonment, rigorous imprisonment also is 2 years along with the fine. Similarly, if you are going to make any failure, let us suppose you are a liquidator of a company, and if you make a failure of the provisions of the income tax law, then that the imprisonment is can be up to 2 years. Of course, imprisonment should not be less than 6 months unless a special and adequate reasons are recorded in the judgment of the court. Then 276B, government failure to pay TDS. Okay, you have deducted the TDS and failed to pay, jail पे जाके 3 महीने बैठो along with the fine pay करके. और TCS, tax collected at source, having collected and failure to pay to the government treasury, 3 महीने जाके बैठो वहाँ. Of course, it could be go to 7 years also along with the fine. Then 276C, of course, nowadays in the news channels are also, that is television channels are also, they are showing TDS. The company boss says to the accountant, first you do that, otherwise instead of sitting here I have to sit there in the jail and then you have to come there and get my signatures. So if you want to see that your boss is going to sit in his chamber, please remember you have to necessarily help him to remit that particular tax, because you are all future accountants. Even if you have got any difference with the chairmen or the directors and all, don't put them to this kind of trouble. Back to the point. Willful attempt to evade the tax penalty or interest imposable under the act, then that is if the amount sought to be evaded, tax to be evaded is more than 1 lakh, then 6 months jaake baito. Then willful attempt to evade the payment of any tax or penalty or interest, 276C2 says what? 3 महीने जाके वहाँ पे बैठो. Of course, your 276C1 is if the amount exceeds 1 lakh and all. Then of course friends, that is failure to file the return under 139(1), 142(1) or 148, and if the tax sought to be evaded is more than 1 lakh, 276CC says what? जाके what is it? 3 महीने jail में बैठो. Then what is it? If there is a willful failure to produce the books of accounts, in case if they are asking through notice under 142(1) to produce the books of accounts, आप नहीं दिए तो 1 year जाके बैठो, or fine of ₹4 rupees per day. This 276D already we have studied there also, and you have made the note of it. Similarly, if you make any false statement and all, जाके 6 months तक वहाँ आप खुशी वेल बैठ सकते. कहाँ पे? जेल में. Then that is abetment to make the false statement or declaration relating to any income. Don't encourage anybody. So if you encourage anybody to do like giving false statements and all also, then you will be going and sitting there for 6 months. And once you have got punished for a particular crime under one particular section, और एक बार भी आप करें तो same kind of default or crime that you have done, और एक बार आप जाके 6 months जेल में बैठना होगा दोस्तों. Then friends, 281, that is disclosure of particulars by the public servants in contravention of section 130(82). एक public office hold करके, then if you are disclosing the information to anybody which is going to affect the revenue, then Kushivel you can go and sit in the jail for 6 months is a point. Of course, I made it very fast, but it is for the students to have their own methodology of how to remember all these things. In any case, point of interest is what you are prohibited if you do, what you are expected to do if you don't do. Then 2 things are definite there. One is penalty and associated prosecution. Then friends, 276CC says what? That is willful failure to file the return of income under section 139(1). Definitely we have studied this. If there is a willful failure on your part to file the return before the due date under 139(1) or in pursuance of a notice under section 148 when they want to take up the case for regular assessment under section 147, or when they ask you to file a return for that particular block period under section 153A, then yes, prosecution will be there. But failure to file the return of income within the time allowed under section 139(1), prosecution will be there, but exception is what? That is, in case if the return of income is filed before the expiry of the relevant assessment year, then no prosecution is required. Similarly, if return of income is filed after the expiry of the relevant assessment year, but of course, what is it? If the amount of the tax is coming below 3,000 after TDS and advance tax, if the self-assessment tax to be paid and return to be filed, the amount of the self-assessment tax that you require to pay and all is 3,000 or less, then no prosecution is required. So most important thing is under 276CC, one important thing is if you require to file the return under section 139 or 148 or 153A, you will be liable for the prosecution, but exceptionally In case if the SSC files the return under 139, if not before the due date, at least before the end of the assessment year, then no prosecution is required. Similarly, in case if the tax to be paid as a self-assessment tax is below 3,000 rupees or less, then also no prosecution is required, even if the return is filed after the expiry of the relevant assessment year. Then 277A, just now we have concluded, what is it? Falsification of the books of accounts of the documents. So if you are making falsification of the books of accounts and the documents, then also you will be levied for what is it, that penalty as well as the prosecution. So of course, falsification of the books of accounts and documents, how do you establish that particular charge into this particular section? It shall not be necessary to prove that second person has actually evaded the tax or penalty or interest are chargeable or imposable under the act. Only when if it can be proved that tax is evaded or penalty they try to avoid and all that, the simple fact that falsification of the books of accounts and document happened, whether it resulted in concealment of the income or not, can be well attract that particular, what is it, the penalty and prosecution. Then friends, 277A, of course, what is the point? If a person with the intention to enable the other person to evade the tax make or causes to made any false entry in the books of accounts or the books of accounts of other person, then such a person shall be punishable with a rigorous imprisonment which shall not be less than 3 months. It is not necessary to prove that other person has actually evaded the tax. बात क्या है? चक्रवर्ती को हेल्प करने के लिए मैडम हरिता हैज गिवन द false purchase vouchers. That is, Harita is encouraging me to take what is it, sales invoices of her, which happens to be purchase invoice for me, and that means she is helping me to reduce my tax burden, and she is giving the false and fake, what is it, invoices. Then very well I can put her behind the bars using the provisions of section 277A is the point. Of course, for you to remember 277A, write down a small point, that is, in case of section 277A, in case of section 277A, it is not necessary for the tax department, it's not necessary for the tax department to establish that evasion in fact to establish that evasion in fact has taken place, then such a provision is made to bring within the net of punishment, within the net of the punishment, the person who carries on such activities like issue of bogus bills, So be careful, friends. Then 278BB, try to understand for the offences which we have studied. Company is an artificial judicial person. So in case if the company involved in such an offense, then who will be liable for this particular imprisonment and all? The director of the company is a point. Of course, if he can prove the point that such an offense was committed without his knowledge, or that he had exercised all due diligence to prevent the commission of such offense, then very well he can get out of that particular imprisonment program. All of you are getting my point? If there is an offense committed by the company, then with respect to that particular offense, the director is liable for. Then friends, of course, if he can prove that it is not being done with his knowledge, or he has exercised all due care, despite of that it has happened means, then he can avoid that prosecution is the point. Similarly, in case of the Hindu undivided family, 278C says what? That is, Karta will be guilty of any offense. Again and again here also the same point. If he can prove that it is offense is being committed without his knowledge, or what is it, he has taken all the due care, then yes, he can be out of that particular prosecution as a point. And another important section is 278E, which says what? The authorities can well presume that there is a culpable state of the mind, mens rea, with which we started our lecture. Again I am ending also with the same note, that is a culpable state of mind can be well presumed by the what? The department. It is for whom to prove that there is no culpable state of the mind. It is for the SSC to prove that there is no culpable state of the mind. That means there is no intention, motive or knowledge. So culpable state of mind can be well presumed in any offense, but it is for the SSC to prove that there is no culpable state of the mind, then only he can come out of this particular penalty and prosecutions. Who said so? 278E says so. Earlier you have written this particular point, friends. 278E, clearly you have made the point. So I am not again making you to write this. So prosecution must be done at the instance of the, what is it, chief commissioner or a commissioner is a point. That is, a person shall not be proceeded against for an offense given in several sections except with the previous approval of whom the commissioner is a point. So most important thing is the chief commissioner or the director general must write that it is a fit case where prosecution can be well initiated is a point. And last point and a noteworthy point, which is a point which is given by the Supreme Court in KSA Builders, stating that once penalties under section 271(1)(c) are cancelled, then what will happen, friends? That is prosecution under 276(c) also will get quashed, and it is a automatic is a point. So always as a tax practitioner we should make a very good effort to see that penalty proceedings are dropped, because once penalty proceedings are dropped, automatically what will happen? Prosecution will also get quashed is a point. Write down. That is last point. Once penalties under section 271(1)(c) are cancelled, quashing of prosecution under section 276(c) is automatic, automatic. Who said so? Supreme Court says so. Right? Then I leave the previous examination questions for the students. See, any amount of your study, any amount of your listening, ultimately fruits you can get only when you can check what the knowledge you got by studying or listening. Is it helping you to answer all the questions which were tested in the examination? And with that testing process being completed only, your chapter gets closed. Thank you.